The Nigerian banking industry is undergoing a critical technological overhaul, with leading banks replacing their legacy core banking systems. Customers have complained about service disruptions for a couple of weeks now, but will services be restored fully soon? Join us for this conversation. We have Mr. Adedeji Olowo as the founder, Lend Square, joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show.
Hi, Daddy. Good to see you again.
It's great to see you. It's great to see you too. It's been quite a while. But I know you know what's happening, with most of these banks right now in Nigeria, undergoing they took this decision to switch their core banking applications, and most of them are doing it at the same time. Are we safe? Why are they making this move all at the same time?
Thanks so much for that question, Daddy. So here's the thing, banks are like what? Most of the banks we have today, many of them we used to call them new generation banks, like about 10, 20 years ago. All of them have been growing almost at the same pace. So you will see that those changes in terms of upgrade to core banking tend to happen almost around the same time. And why are they seeing happening? You can see the central bank has seen them to increase their capital base. Banks are getting bigger with this new capital being raised, and with the way the world is evolving, right, with the rise of digital technology, you can see that everybody is preparing for the future growth. And the best time to do it, maybe yesterday, maybe the next best time is to do it is now. So if you've got to raise $500 billion, you can't start telling people in a couple of years' time that you are not able to process millions of transactions a day. So I will expect that this will be the best time they can do it based on the realities as the world is evolving.
What would you say are those, technical challenges, associated with switching, core banking applications? And do you think the banks are doing enough to, address most of these challenges?
Okay, so people have asked me this question before, and I used to tell people, like, look, you know what? There are two ways to look at this thing. There is core banking upgrade, which is when you improve what you currently have, and then there's a core banking switch. Now, a core banking upgrade is in the simplest system, is like doing a surgery, right? This is very destructive because you have to practically stop everything you're doing to make sure what you have is now better than before. Now, even though it might be the same thing, usually there's a lot of things that you have to change to meet new realities. Now, core banking change itself, that is like total heart transplant. You are changing everything completely. So could there have been other ways to do it? Yes, I feel like we could do some things better, but to be very frank, it's just like if somebody goes to the hospital to do heart transplant, heart change, they might get back to work in some time, but it can't be the next day. So there is always going to be challenges. Now, but where I feel that banks could have done this better is to actually be very open to their customers, what they're trying to do, and what kind of impact it will have. I think this is where most of the banks have failed.
And it's quite interesting, Nigerians are still recovering, from the Naira redesign policy, and when people could not really access cash, and we now had to rely, we couldn't even access the apps, at some point, we now had to rely on the fintechs. So talk to me about the fintechs. Do they also have to do some kind of upgrade at some point, or are they fine?
Well, that is going to be high for them in the future. When you look at the typical bank today compared to a fintech, banks are significantly way bigger, apart from few fintechs that process things at very large scale. That's number one. But then fintechs may also have a few bit of advantage over banks because the structure and manner of their technology is a little bit different. So usually most banks use monolithic, we call them monolithic application. These are very big applications that run on mainframes that are very expensive. You can only do major changes to them. But for fintechs, they run on simpler technology. Well, it's simpler because it looks simple, but it's simpler because it's also better, right? We call them things like microservices that allow you to have sometimes what we call horizontal scaling. It means that as you have more transactions coming to you, you could just spread your services this way. Unlike banks that have to spread their services in a vertical manner. Now, spreading in a vertical manner is usually more expensive and destructive But for horizontal scaling, it's a whole lot easier. But nevertheless, when the current crop of fintechs we have in Nigeria also grow to that kind of scale, they will definitely always have to do some upgrade as well, and it may impact people. Now, if I may add, if you're a big bank, if something is happening to your system, it gets to impact more people because you have more customers who may not be able to receive money sent to them or who may not be able to easily send money. But if you're a smaller bank or a smaller fintech, even when you have protracted challenges, a lot of people may not know because most people don't use you. So if you look at Nigeria today and you look at it like Pareto's rule, you can say that the top 5 banks control like almost 60-70% of banking industry. So it means that if anything is happening to them, the impact on the entire Nigeria in itself and the kind of noise and complaint that come up will be significantly.
Right, and we did hear the EFCC chairman, I think that was yesterday, talk about potential losses due to cyber insecurity. With this whole process, this whole switching and upgrade process, are there potential cybersecurity risks that consumers or customers should actually be aware of and maybe protect themselves from with this process?
Absolutely. So, when you look at the issue of cybersecurity, social engineering is a bigger, risk from that whole cybersecurity suite of risk. Why? Because, take for example, a bank is doing an upgrade or a bank has an issue, people are sending money to customers, it's not impacting on time. Fraudsters who send SMS and email to people and say, oh, you send money to somebody, he hasn't gotten there, click this link to register your issue. And that would be a problem. Now, what could banks do to do this? It's a communication. Banks need to be open, banks need to respect their customers, banks need to be very clear on what the issues are and when they're coming back, right? If this is well done, it will happen. Now, during this time of upgrade, I've seen different banks handle this thing differently. Some banks, right, because I get to have accounts in almost every bank based on the kind of work I do. Some banks were communicating clearly, okay, we are doing this, we are back, we are yet to come back. Some banks just kept mum and you have no idea about what's happening. Now, when a bank doesn't speak to their customers, it's easy for bad actors to start speaking to their customers on their behalf.
Yeah, definitely. Cybersecurity, a big issue. I'm tired of, most of these hackers always trying to take over my WhatsApp at some point. They always keep trying. It's so frustrating. But are there any international benchmarks or standards that, Nigerian banks are adhering to, during this whole transition?
Interestingly, when you go globally, right, a lot of banks have done upgrade without issues. Some banks have also done upgrade that have caused a lot of issues, especially some of the British banks, like TSB Lloyds. For us, I feel like Nigerian banks should elevate themselves to a level where even if others have not done it well internationally, we should be the example. So we should elevate ourselves to a level where when people go to Harvard and talk about the upgrade done by a Nigerian bank, why that should be a masterclass in the upgrade. I think that kind of thinking is what should be permeate our thoughts, our mind in the Nigerian banking ecosystem.
All right, so, going into 2025, what are you seeing? Do you see better customer experience for, most of these customers, or are we seeing more upgrades into 2025?
For the banks that haven't done upgrades right now, it's still going to come to them because once you raise money, literally you have to do an upgrade. Why? Because you have to justify that money you raised, which means that you have to have better technology to be able to handle larger number of customers. But one thing we have to do is we have to separate the concept of customer service from technology. Technology is an enabler to allow you to serve your customer better. But if you don't respect your customers to start with, and if you do not care about how your customers think when you have issues, even if you have the best technology in the world, it's not going to help. Now, if you have basic technology, but you care about your customers, then they will enjoy you even when you haven't done an upgrade. So my challenge for banks is that this upgrade may mean that some transactions could be faster. But if a bank doesn't usually respond to customers, if a bank doesn't usually send emails to customers or SMS to customers when there are issues or when they are working on anything, that upgrade is not going to send emails on their behalf. So that thinking of caring about customers, as after all, we just left this customer service week, that thinking should permeate our thoughts and let banks start winning based on quality of customer service. Because just after consolidation, like about a decade ago, or 15 years ago, a lot of banking improved. But over the last 2-3 years, maybe for the last 4 years, quality of customer service has kind of reduced significantly. You send emails to bank, you don't get answers, you have issues, it doesn't get resolved on time. So this has nothing to do with technology at all. It's got to do with, management executives have to step forward and think of their customers, respect their customers, and take care of them.
Right, because we see a lot of customers going on X, tagging some of these banks and reporting the cases there.
It's quite tiring.
It is. Thank you so much, Adedeji Lowe, founder, Lens Square. It was great having you today. Thank you.
Good to have you as well, Larry.